Okay, so we're going to move on now and look at DPACT in a slightly different way and with a slightly different subject. In this case, we're going to look at applied literacy. Now, what you're looking at here is the Moodle interface for our one of our applied literacy levels, and in this case, it's foundation level. So this is the first level that our learners engage with. And one of the things they're invited to do very early on is this unit here, Unit 3, which is skills discovery. And what we do is they do this, they do a bit of skill building in terms of discrete literacy skills, but very early on, one of the things they're asked to do is this, and that is they write a list of the skills that they think they can bring to our school, to GTEC, now. And they list these skills and they document how they think those skills might help them. And then they also make a list of the skills they think that they need to develop more, and also how those skills will help them. And that's something that they do almost within the first week or so of joining our school for the first time. And the purpose of this is to get to know them better and to demonstrate to them that they have some skills and to think about the skills that they think that they need to develop more. So this is sort of discovery at course level, overall course level, not just a specific sort of lesson sequence. Now, later on when they've finished all their foundation tutorials and tasks, and they go through, when they're in foundation, they go through a lot of those sort of mini lessons that you saw for MTech in terms of getting particular skills and building up small skills and going through a bit of a sort of mini discovery process, that instructional process of having screencasts, and then controlled practice and a little bit of application. But then when they go up to literacy intermediate, things are a bit different. But again, this idea of discovery at course level is really important. That idea of getting the learners to predict what they're going to do and getting to know them better. And what we see here is the very first unit at intermediate level is called In the Know. Now what they have to do in this unit is they download a text that I've actually written, and it's the idea that everybody knows something, but how did they get to know that? How did they develop that skill? Where did it come from? How did they develop it? How might they use that skill more in the future? How might they develop it more? So I wrote a text myself about a particular skill that I feel that I have, which is sort of program design. And I attempted to sort of showcase where I think that skill came from in my childhood and how I've developed it over my career and what I hope to do with it. And the learners then complete a reading assignment based on that text. And, the very first question asks them about the purpose of this text. So they're asked to skim over the text to get an idea of what it covers, and then say, what was the purpose of this? Who is it written for and why? And the sample answer here from a student is that I think this text was written for students and young people to help them realize their skills and inspire them to find ways of using them. So that's what this learner decided the purpose of that text was. A little bit later, they, after they've identified all the main ideas and supporting details, they're asked this question here, which is, how was the purpose of the text achieved? Now, you said what you thought the purpose was, so how did the writer actually go about, achieving that purpose? And the sample answer here from a student is the writer was trying to explain and inform people of what he has done in the past and what he has achieved. Doing so, he split up his main ideas into different paragraphs so they could be clearly noticed when he was changing ideas. His language was simple and easy to understand, which makes it easier to read and take in everything that is being written. So what you're seeing here is very much the critical thinking element. Actually thinking about why and how texts were put together the way that they are. A little bit later, they're asked to comment on the effectiveness of that text and, say why they didn't think it was effective. In this case, from a different learner, the sample answer was, I thought the text was effective because it helped me realize that small skills or talents that you enjoy can develop into something big, like how organizing a game can turn into organizing learning programs. So again, a little bit of critical thinking involved there as a natural part of the assignment. They also then compare this text that the teacher has written about a skill he feels he has with that skills discovery assignment that I showed you a little earlier from foundation level. So they compare this intermediate text that the teacher has prepared with that initial assignment they did way back in foundation, and they list some similarities and differences. Again, this is about a bit of discovery, but also critical thinking. When we get them to compare and contrast things, that's really drawing on those critical thinking skills. And then we say, well, you've read this text. A little bit later, you're going to make your own in-the-know text. So how could what you've read here help you? And what a learner has pointed out here is that this text will help me to decide how I will lay out my text. It can help me to think of ideas of my skills. This text will give me an idea of what I need to include into mine, such as how my skill has helped me and what I've used it for. So we've made this real interface between reading and writing here. And it's interesting because you may be thinking, well, hang on, where was the instruction and the practice there? I saw the discovery, I saw the application, and I saw all the critical thinking, but where was the instruction and practice? In this case, we didn't need to use any instruction or practice because they've already done all the relevant instruction and practice back in foundation level, and they still have access to all those tutorials, all those examples, all those samples. They can go back and access it however many times they need to. So for example, if they were trying to find the main ideas and supporting details in that text, they could go back and re-access those tutorials that they've already, all the instructions and practice and application that they did earlier. Or, for example, how do you find the purpose of a text, or how would you phrase your opinion about the effectiveness of the text? All of these skills were covered earlier and checked and confirmed. So now that they're in intermediate level, we can sometimes jump straight into application. If we've already given them most of the instruction and the practice and controlled application, as they go up in levels, we can focus more on actual broader application and make a bigger deal about the discovery and the critical thinking. So this is sort of an example of how DPACT doesn't always have to be a discover, instruction, practice, application process. Sometimes it can be just about discovery and application and critical thinking, if those initial skills have been built up properly. And the other thing to point out here is, as I mentioned very early on in the workshop, is that we want to find out what makes the learners tick, where they're at, what they're thinking. And I think in any course, it's important right at the start to have these sort of in-the-know style activities where we elicit from them the skills that they have and the experiences that they have to get to know them better as people. And to point out to them too that they have skills, that they can discover lots of things about themselves. And this critical thinking is a natural part of learning. So a little bit of a different twist to the DPACT there. It's not just a religious process that I follow. All of those elements I think are important, but once certain things have been mastered and been done enough times, it's important to focus a lot more on broad application and really ramping up those critical thinking skills as the level goes up, as the competence goes up.